and welcome to Notice Tonight, the show that decodes the region. I am Wasbir Hussain. Viewers, not just Nagas in the region, but observers of the Naga peace process across India and outside are keenly awaiting a settlement to the more than 7 decades old problem. The outcome is anxiously awaited because the Naga issue is by all accounts South Asia's longest insurgency-driven political problem. As the government leaders tell us that the peace talks are now at an advanced stage, the key player in the negotiation process, the NSCN-IM, has come out with a statement dated 11th of September, more or less saying it is the sole arbiter of the Naga issue and that other groups are simply trying to cash in or capitalize on the situation. Now, can this be interpreted to mean that the NSCN-IM do not want or does not want to attach much of an importance to 7 other NNPGs involved in the negotiation process for the past 2 years or so? Besides, the NSCN-IM has said they do not want the Nagas to merge with the Indian Union but coexist with what it calls shared sovereignty. The big question asked by many now is, could the NSCN-IM not have raised some of these issues earlier? Or has it raised these points earlier and making it public only now? How much ground has been covered by the two negotiating sides, the Naga groups and the Government of India? Yes, the Naga leaders are known to be tough negotiators, but the government too has been dealing with the issue for decades now and is a highly experienced entity. To discuss the road to Naga peace, I am joined from Kohima tonight by Naga Hoho General Secretary Elu Andang, Naga Mothers Association Advisor Dr. Rosemary Juvisu, who is also a member of the Forum for Naga Reconciliation, besides being a professor at the Nagaland University. She is the head of the Department of English at the Nagaland University in Kohima. I also have with me Mr. Nikitu Iralu, a highly respected peace activist who is also a member of the Forum for Naga Reconciliation. And at our studios in Guwahati, I have Mr. Sunil Nath, writer and commentator and former publicity chief of the ULFA, or the United Liberation Front of Assam. Senior journalist and commentator Susanta Talukdar is also with me, and so is Arunav Goswami, Assistant Director of the Center for Development and Peace Studies, a leading Guwahati-based think tank. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Notice Tonight. I'd like to begin by asking you, Mr. Nikitu Iralu. Mr. Iralu, you are a member of the Forum for Naga Reconciliation. You have been dealing with peace for many decades now. My question to you, are you optimistic of an early solution to the Naga problem? Mr. Iralu.
Well, we waited for this thing for 22 years. We were told it was coming at Christmas time again and again. Now they were told that Delhi wants it in 3 months. So I don't know what to say. And about being optimistic or not, I do not know what's going on. So I have no idea what will be coming. Something must come. But I really am at a loss what to say.
All right, Mr. Iralu, what according to you are some of the challenges ahead at this critical juncture?
I think the challenge is, as I said, I do not know what has been going on for some time. Things are, all kinds of positions are taken by different groups. I feel the real problem is Nagas are not getting across to Nagas. Because each group, each section, each interest group is wedded to their agendas, and not that is so more important than what will be good for all Nagas, as far as I see that way. And therefore, if we are not getting across to one another, the situation is to my mind, serious. And therefore, as far as I'm concerned, I want to concentrate on healing the damaged process, the process of our struggle.
All right, Mr. Sunil Nath, we are at a critical juncture. As you have seen in your introduction, it has been 22 years since the NSA and IM has been engaged in peace talks with the government of India. Only for the last 2 years, first 6 other organizations, 6 other Naga rebel groups, they call themselves as the Naga national political groups, they joined the peace process roughly about 2 years back, and now once again the NSCN-K has also joined. That means apart from the NSC and IM, 7 other Naga national political groups are also part of the peace process. Now the NSC and IM is saying other political groups are trying to capitalize on the situation, and they don't have much of an contribution. In fact, this is the September 11 statement issued by the NSC and IM. There they have written that they are almost the sole arbiter of the Naga issue, and they are saying that we would not like to merge with the Indian Union, but we'd like to stay by sharing sovereignty on the basis of competencies. Now my question is, how do you read this? Do you mean to say that NSCN doesn't want the other Naga national groups to be part of this accord? How do you interpret this?
Well, it has to be admitted that NSCN-IM is the prime mover of the Naga cause.
Right.
But at the same time, if it hesitates in including all the other groups, then it is weakening itself in the sense that even fringe groups at least represent fringe interests within the Naga nation. So it would be better for all of us, for all of us well-wishers, that the Nagas stand united as a nation, with, of course, NSCN-IM leading the show.
Right.
Yes.
Right. I will come back to you, Sunil Nath. That's a very important point that you have made. Ms. Rosemary Zuvisu, welcome. My question is, are you optimistic about an early solution to the Naga issue? Because we have been made to understand by the government that it is at an advanced stage, but right now on the 11th of September, the NSC and IM has issued a statement almost calling itself to be the prime arbiter of the Naga cause, and saying that other groups are trying to capitalize or cash in on the situation. How do you read this, and are you optimistic at this juncture? Rosemary?
Wasbir, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Carry on. If you have heard my question, please
Yes.
answer.
You can hear me. Sorry, yeah. Wasbir, at this point of time, we cannot afford to be pessimistic. The statement of the NSC and IM, we are well aware of it. But the fact that they've actually been negotiating for the last 22 years, one needs to also take that into account. But I think the reality is that even the 7 NNPGs are already at the negotiating table. And if Nagaland and the Nagas are to look forward to at least peace and a lasting solution, definitely all these groups will have to come to some kind of an understanding and negotiate with the government of India. I think that's the take that I'm going to take.
Right. Dr. Rosemary, the question is, many people are asking that, for so long, particularly after the signing of the framework agreement 4 years ago, none of the sides, whether it is the government, whether it is the NSC and IM, they did not talk much about the framework agreement. But now when everybody is expecting a solution, the NSC and IM has said that, they have almost given an impression, subject to interpretation. They have given an impression that they would like to be the prime arbiter of the Naga issue, and they have accused the other groups of not contributing enough, but now trying to jump into the whole process now that the peace accord is about to be signed. How do you look at this?
Wasbir, I think that is the viewpoint of the NSC and IM. But you must remember, for the rest of Nagas who long for peace, the very fact that the 7 NNPGs have also come on board we need to think of the kind of negotiation that is also going on. As far as the framework agreement is concerned, lately, the details of the agreement have been worked out. I think many of the civil societies are also privy to many of the details that have been declared.
Right.
And so also with the 7 NMPGs who have actually shared a lot of the...
Okay, we have lost that connection to Nagaland. This is a constant problem that we face in the northeastern region. Susanto Talukdar, basically, how do you look at the same question which I asked Dr. Rosemary Zuvisu of the Naga Mothers Association? How do you look at this situation now? The latest statements coming out from the NSCN-IM and the government saying that talks are at an advanced stage.
We expected this stark posture from the NSCN-IM because it was clear from their position earlier on in respect of the flag and the constitution, and but it's for the both India and the Naga political groups. It is critical that the Naga peace process has to be sustained. Neither side can afford to anything going wrong at this stage. For India, it is critical because of its activist policy, and for Nagaland also it is important. I mean, for the Naga areas also it is important. And
right.
Once it is moves on,
right.
But the great challenge is that bringing all the sides on a table. I mean, that process hasn't started. Although the India's interlocutor R.N. Ravi has been maintaining that there will be only one accord with all the groups, one process.
Let me absolutely, that is the point. Aranav Goswami, there will be only one Naga peace accord, right?
Yes.
Now, apart from the NSCN, which has been negotiating for 22 years, now 7 other NNPGs are also part of the process. Now, at this juncture, when the NSCN says that other people have not contributed enough and now trying to jump into the situation now that a solution is nearing, that is not a very positive development. Or do you think, are we reading too much in this? Do you think that at the end of the day, NSCN being the prime mover is going to take everybody along? How do you read it?
No, I think NSCN has made a very smart move here, because you see, they were till few weeks ago they were asking about the separate flag in the constitution. Then the indication from the government of India was that that will not be given to them. So now maybe there's
no. I think there is no indication from the government of India on that.
No official.
There is no official indication.
No
they have
official,
demanded.
They have demanded.
It stands
yes.
as a demand.
Yeah. But so maybe they are trying to stand a chance, put further pressure on the Indian government, trying to say that they are the only one who they should be negotiated with. They are the only one who the Naga people care for, and they are trying to put these other groups away and kind of get a bargaining chip with the Indian government.
So this is very interesting. Let me go to Mr. Nikitu Iralu. Mr. Iralu, talks are supposed to be at an advanced stage, but the NSCN has now said that trying to say that other groups are not as important, but there is going to be only one Naga peace accord. But the NSCN says other groups are trying to jump and capitalize on the situation. What is your view on this?
Well, as I said, each group has their own perception about themselves and not thinking of how others are looking at the common Naga crisis. Each group seeing only what they see and what they want to see and what they want. Very understandable for human beings. But in a crisis like this, very important that we see what the other side are seeing in us.
Yeah.
Which should be different. I'm afraid that's not happening.
Yeah.
But that's the most important thing. Because my side will say something and that's the only thing that is right. That is my perception.
Okay.
That's fine. But others have their own perception, and in a crisis like this, perceptions clash. And that is what statesmen, leaders of statesmanship, should look at that overall picture and create a connection with one another. It's a human crisis above all. A human crisis, if the relationships are not right, lead to political crisis and they get worse.
Now,
that's how I'm seeing it.
Now, Mr. Eluandang, now, how do you look at the situation? Basically, because do you think now it is extremely important for all the groups to sit together, and this is a very, very critical juncture, and do you think it is necessary for all the groups to sit together and decide not to come up with statements that could jeopardize the situation? Do you think this is the time to exercise maximum caution?
Yes, absolutely, it's the right time for all the groups to come together and sit across the table. In the past, with different approaches, they have dealt with the issue. But time has come for all the groups, for all the Naga people to come, sit together across the table, and sort out the differences, and listen to the voice of the people, and work for unity.
Okay. Now some of the Naga leaders, including political leaders, for example, a few days ago, the opposition leader Mr. T.R. Zeliang was in an interview with me. He said the government of India should invite all the civil society leaders and the political leaders also right now, so as to have a discussion on the Naga peace issue, being at an advanced stage. Are you in favor of a dialogue by the government of India with the civil society and the political leadership, because they are already talking to the NNPGs and the NSCN-IM? Do you think that is also necessary?
Yes, obviously the people cannot be kept at dark. Before any agreement is inked, the people has to be made aware of, the people has to be informed.
Right. Dr. Rosemary Zuvisu, basically, this is the time when it's a make or break kind of a juncture. This is a time when the accord can be done, or if there is a lot of misrepresentation of facts, misunderstanding, perception issues, then it can once again go back to square one. Do you agree with this view? And what is your message to the NSCN-IM as well as the other NNPZs?
Wasbir, since I represent the Naga Mothers Association, for many years, meeting all these different groups, there must be inclusiveness in this Naga peace process as well as in the dialogue. And right now at this point in time, they cannot afford to ignore each other. I think this is the right time for all of them to come together, share views on what is the Naga future ahead of us, and also sit at the negotiating table with the government of India. One problem which the government of India has always had is the non-inclusion of women at the negotiating table, both from the Indian side as well as from the Naga political groups. And if you look at other peace negotiations that have gone on across the world, the involvement of women has also been very important. And the question we have always asked many of these groups is, what kind of a future do they envision for women when they do not listen, nor do they involve women at the negotiating table? Look at South Africa and look at the Irish peace process. There have been a lot of developments because of the involvement of women, and I think that is one part of this whole process which both the Indian government as well as the Naga society seems to be ignoring.
Now, Rose, you are a person along with your team. You have trekked and gone into difficult terrain to meet all shades of Naga opinion, all shades, all the groups, most of the groups leaders you have met personally. You have trekked into Myanmar and so on. And what is the sense you are getting? Where is the problem? Why do you think one of the frontline groups, the NSCN-IM, is now trying to say that other groups have not contributed enough? Do you think that is going to help the situation at this juncture?
I think at this juncture, at least one of the strongest groups, which is the NSCN-IM, the longest at the negotiating table, what really needs to be done is it really needs to reach out to the other groups. And we hope in the days ahead that should be done. Because from the experiences that we have had with the other groups, I think the other groups are not averse to also sitting down with them and to also having a dialogue with them. And therefore, it is not a government of India alone, but it is the problem, I think, is also within us, the Nagas ourselves. And I think this is where all of us need to bridge that gap to find at least a solution for the next generation, at least for the younger generation. We cannot afford to go on like this for many more years.
Right. At this juncture, I am asking a slightly different question to Mr. Elu Andang. Mr. Elu Andang, you are representing the Naga Hoho, but today, in the recent developments, so much of clashes, so much of perception issues, so much of problems within the Naga tribal groups. I am not talking about the underground groups. I am talking about the overground groups, the Naga tribal bodies, the Hohos. Why is it happening? Because the Nagas we know are extremely democratic people. You might say that this is the democratic rights. Yes, we all know that. But don't you think this is the time for everybody, all Naga, to come together and achieve an acceptable solution after so long?
Yes, the peace process has been dragging on for the last 22 years. People have been patiently waiting for the outcome of the talk. The patience of the people has been tested for quite a long years now. And in this, we admit, we admit that the tribal groups have come up with their own opinions. But on the other side, it is also the wishes of the government of India fulfilling it, because if the government of India had kept its commitment, things would not have come this far. But in spite of the repeated commitments, if we are to look at the recent framework agreement, they have assured us by December. Again, they said election for solution. And now it has, after the signing of the framework agreement, it has taken us for another 3 years more. So how long people can wait? People have been pressing the government of India. People
Right.
have been pressing the political groups to come to a settlement at the earliest.
Okay,
So
I get the sense. Elu Andang,
People hope has
Yeah.
been.
right. Hold your thoughts. I'm coming back to you. Mr. Sunil Nath, at this juncture, we are asking this question, why couldn't the NSC and IM not have talked about certain things which they are talking now, earlier? Now, for example, now they're saying that, oh, we will not merge with the Indian Union, but we'll coexist with it. Do you think these are not, we should not take these things too seriously, because do you think this is part of the negotiation tactics? Because you have been a part, you have seen it very closely. The United Liberation Front of Assam is today negotiating with the government of India. One group is not negotiating, that's a different issue. But first of all, the demand was a sovereign Nagaland. Then the focus was on integration of Naga areas, which even today it is there. Then the flag and the constitution were described by the NSC and IM as the core issues. And now they're saying that we will not merge with the Union of India, but we'll coexist with shared sovereignty. Do you think this is part of the natural negotiation tactics? How do you look at it?
Well, in most of the negotiations, this occurs. But at the same time, I do directly disagree with it. Like if you want a solution, you have to go in for something that is achievable. Putting up some demands which cannot be made only prolongs the negotiation. It doesn't end up in results. Like whatever has happened in Jammu and Kashmir, if that anybody in India, anybody within the periphery of geographical periphery of India thinks that the central government would concede to a demand of a separate flag, separate something, I think that wouldn't happen. So that demand itself would endlessly prolong the negotiations.
We'd like to have all the people on the screen. Yes, carry on, Sunil Nath. Yes.
So, my request to my Naga brothers would be that come up with demands which are achievable, which are reasonable, and which will seem reasonable to everybody.
Now, Doctor, I'm coming to you, Susanta Talukdar and Arunav. Dr. Rosemary, lot of people are asking this question. See, the format of my show, Northeast Tonight, is to bring out the opinion from all my panelists who are highly, highly experienced and eminent people. So I'm asking you this question. The general impression is that first the Naga groups demanded sovereignty, then the focus shifted. I'm not saying they're not demanding now. I'm saying that the focus shifted to integration of Naga areas, then flag and the constitution, and now the focus is saying that, we will not merge with the Indian Union, but we are going to coexist. Do you see it changing, or do you see that everything is interlinked?
Wasbir, it is interlinked, because when you look at the demand for the Naga flag as well as the constitution, it is a part of the idea of sovereignty, and it has been one of their first demands. Today, when the government of India is stating that it is not willing to give the flag nor the constitution, I think this is again going to be one of the main stumbling blocks for the negotiators.
Okay. Mr. Eluandang, how do you look at it? The same question to you as well.
So Wasbir, the whole issue is interlinked, and I don't see any changing of demand. And in the process of negotiation, they have taken into account the contemporary realities. So according to the changing times, they have been negotiating it. And therefore, I don't have any doubt on it, and there is no change of demand.
Absolutely no change of demand. I will go for a short break now, but don't go away. I'll be right back after this very, very short commercial. Welcome back. Mr. Nikitu Iralu, how do you view the latest statement? This is the statement which I am talking about, the 11th September statement of the NSC and IM, wherein they said that they are the sole arbiter, almost that is not the word they used, of course. They said that they are the main actors and the others are jumping into the fray now. They have not much of a contribution, and they're saying they will not merge with the Indian Union but coexist by sharing sovereign powers based on competencies. So how do you view this statement? A lot of people are taking this statement very seriously. What about you, Mr. Iralu?
Yeah, the NSC and IM, they have negotiated very ably, very competently, I believe like no other group. They are very able negotiators. But they have kept telling us that everything is going well, a settlement is coming, a public meeting after public meeting they have said. So we have just waited to see what's going on. And so if they say that there is something that is blocking the passage to a settlement, I'm afraid you will have to ask them. I don't know what to say.
Now, how do you see the road ahead, Mr. Iralu? The NSCN is there. NSCN IM is there. They have been negotiating for 22 years. There are other groups as well. We cannot deny that the other 7 NNPCs are no good. We cannot say like that because the Nagas are a very wide group. Every group has their own support base. So how do you see the road ahead really?
I can very well understand that because they have fought so hard, they want to have it that way. If I were in the position, I will also take the same position. But the reality is it's a long story, the Naga struggle, over 60, 70 years now. So leaders of today must see the whole picture, the total picture, and see how from the beginning, I believe the struggle was right and is right. It's a human struggle for human aspirations, sacred. But struggles go wrong very quickly. All struggles go wrong like that in the world. Leaders should see what has gone wrong and give attention to those. Put things right, inspire others to get the process clean again.
Right.
I believe the process of the Naga struggle has become very damaged by all factions. I want that to be clear. By all factions down the years, the process of the Naga struggle has been very damaged. And if the process is damaged and wounded, and the different groups are having different perceptions that are clashing, the outcome, it can be dangerous. Keep the process clean, the outcome will be all right. That is a great teaching.
Okay. Okay. Now, Mr. Sunil Nath, you have seen, the very, very veteran and well-respected peace activist, Mr. Nikita Iralu saying. My question to you is slightly different. You have seen it firsthand. What kind of pressures may be generated if the negotiation process is delayed further? Now, Mr. Ravi, the governor, who is also the interlocutor, he has made a statement recently that Prime Minister Modi has asked him to continue resolve the issue within 3 months. Now, how important is it for the government of India to resolve this issue quickly?
Well, it's very important in a sense that, like Sari Alu has said, well, I do agree. Yes, the objective conditions regarding NSCN-IM or the Naga struggle remain same, but the opposite side, in the opposite side, the circumstances around it has changed immensely. So, the equation changes. 2 decades back, Indian nationalism versus Naga nationalism was a different equation, and today it is a different equation. Today, the upsurge in Indian nationalism that has occurred, whether we like it or dislike it.
That's a very,
that
very.
has to be taken
let
into
me,
account.
let me. Absolute, very big point that you are making. Very significant point. Dr. Rosemary, Mr. Sunil Nath, who is a writer now, the former Alpha leader in the studios with me. Mr. Sunil Nath is saying that Indian nationalism itself has become so aggressive today. Whether you like it or dislike it, that's a different issue, but that is the reality today. And the perception of Naga nationalism versus Indian nationalism, that is the point he's making. How do you look at it, and how important is it for an early solution? Can we afford to delay the things further?
Wasbir, I think it is in the mind of all Nagas that we must have an early solution, and a peaceful one at that. While acknowledging that Indian nationalism has really taken such changes over the years, you must also remember that we are also dealing with still a very committed idea of Naga nationalism, and therefore within such a context of reality, I think it is important for the government of India as well as for the interlocutor to also understand that there is still so much patriotism at the grassroots level.
Yes.
And in such a context, are we to do away with Naga nationalism, or are we to hurry up so that we can have a solution? I think these are going to be very serious points for us to think about.
Mr. Eluandang, yes, we all know that any Nagas are getting, a section of Nagas at least I would say, a section of Nagas are getting very restless, they are getting restive. But how important it is for the Naga people to move very carefully, and as Dr. Rosemary said, you cannot do things in haste. Can you have the solution immediately within 3 months, or how do you read the situation now?
Well, we are very hopeful, because if we lost hope, then we are equal to a dead person. Therefore, Naga people never lost hope. We are hopeful of the solution. The question here is how far the government of India keeps their commitments, how far they live it through to the people. We respect the nationalism of India, so also we expect the Indian government to respect the Naga nationalism. Yes,
yeah,
the fact remains that people have waited for so long, people are restless, but that does not mean that the spirit of nationalism is dying. It is very, very true, the spirit of nationalism is still alive, and we expect the government of India to reciprocate as per the wishes of the Naga people.
Now, yes, I'll come back to you, Susanto. You see, there are many stages to the negotiation process. Now, obviously, when the Prime Minister has asked the interlocutor, who is also the governor, he has been elevated to the post of the governor, and obviously with a purpose. His main assignment, main mandate is to come and resolve the Naga issue, and he is in a much better position. Mr. Ravi is in a much better position today to take the issues headlong. My question to you, Susanto, is this. Now, can we achieve this? Because there are a lot of grounds have been covered, but a lot of grounds also needs to be covered. For example, the issue of the flag and the constitution is there. The issue of shared sovereignty, how are they going to work out the deal? When we talk about the integration issue, that is still alive. They said they will not merge but will coexist. What kind of an administrative or territorial council or powers that you are going to give, additional powers that you are going to give, so on and so forth. After all, flag and constitution are extremely sentimental to the Naga people, but they are basically symbolic things. At the end of the day, you have to get something much more than that.
I slightly differ with you. I mean, I think for the Naga negotiators, flag and constitution is not just symbolic. It's part of their the entire the demand. I mean the negotiation. I mean I agree with Dr. Rosemary and slightly differ with Mr. Nath. And we have to look at the Naga issue, political issue, with the slightly different view. What I hold with the Ulfa in Assam.
Yeah. What is the difference?
Yeah. So difference is that the issue of flag and constitution. I mean, it's when they were insisting on sovereignty, although they are not, and they articulated it to the level of the shared sovereignty. So and then the question of the Naga groups as well as the Naga society. When we talk about their patriotism and Naga nationalism, it is equally strong. And so, I mean, when you look at it from Indian nationalist perspective, you may look at it just a symbol of the flag and the constitution. But then from the Naga
so
people,
it is linked to their original demand. Exactly. That is what that was for. Arnav, you know, how do you think the government of India could react to the demand for a flag and a constitution at this juncture, which has come only less than 2 months after it has abrogated Article 370 from J&K, in accordance with which J&K had got their flag and constitution? How different is the situation now?
Well, I think at the present juncture, as R.N. Ravi has told, Narendra Modi has given him 3 months to find a solution. And I think another, if you see, on 13th September, the Indian government, the PMO has issued the duties and responsibility of their principal advisor, principal secretary and the NS Ajit Doval. And Ajit Doval has been given the responsibility of the talks with the NSCN. So you see, a person like Ajit Doval is now directly linked to the talks with the NSCN.
The National Security Advisor.
Yeah, the National Security Advisor. So the Indian government is giving top priority to these talks, and R.N. Ravi, who has been talking for so long, Ajit Doval coming to the mix, the Indian government is surely pushing forward with a deal. And I don't think the Indian government would want the negotiations to turn too long just because of a flag or a constitution. I think.
And as let me add to this what you are saying, Arnav. Union Home Minister Amit Shah has made it very clear, and rightly so, that Article 370 and 371 cannot be compared. Yes. He said that 370 was a temporary provision, whereas Article 371 is a permanent part, and moreover the situation in Kashmir cannot be compared with the situation in Nagaland.
Can I quickly come in?
Yeah, very quickly.
Yeah.
I'm going to Kohima.
Yes. I mean, had 371 been the answer, then this problem would not even persist.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. What I'm trying to say is that the flag may not be much of a difficulty, because that can be given in accordance with Article 371 as well.
Right. But then the solution is not there in 371.
No, of course not. Of course not. Solution is not there in 371. 371 gives them protection of their customary rights, culture, and land, and so on. Now, Dr. Rosemary, what is your understanding of shared sovereignty? Because that is very critical. You see, shared sovereignty and coexistence. Nagaland is already one of the Indian states, one of the earliest Indian states, I would say, 1963, and there has been much of a good understanding among the Nagas and the government of India in the last 22 years of the negotiations. How do you look at, what is your understanding of shared sovereignty?
Wasbir, for anyone who reads world politics and world history, shared sovereignty has been a language that has been used for the last many years. And I think for Nagas too, there has been a very strong and deep understanding of this idea of shared sovereignty. And I think that would be the way for peace. Because if you're looking in terms of a complete sovereignty, the question is the government of India also willing to think in terms of that? So I think both sides will have to give and take, but at the same time work out a road where we do enjoy the rights, and the solution definitely has to be honorable. And in terms of the flag and the constitution, that has always been the key for the Naga struggle. The fact that all the groups have struggled under the Naga flag, the time now to have a debate on the Naga flag, I think is really not the time, as far as the government of India is also concerned, even though it's the Home Minister.
Right.
And as far as the constitution is concerned, definitely we are looking for changes within the constitution. And if the flag and constitution is not there, I think we are losing sight of what the Nagas were really fighting for.
Elu Endang, how do you look at it? What is your take on this? The same question. Okay, Endang has been disconnected. Let me go to Mr. Iralu. Mr. Iralu, we have been talking about, the differences within the Naga groups, but in the same statement, in the same September 11 statement, the NSC and IM has also given a call for unity among the Nagas. Is this possible, or is the road slippery according to you, Mr. Iralu?
I am out of all these discussions, but from what I read in the papers, there is a real attempt going on among the different tribes, different bodies, civil society bodies, all making an attempt to see that all the different groups will come together and take a common stand.
All right.
I do not know what will come out of that, but there is a real attempt being made at the moment. Whatever I will say that if together and with the government of India, if the different Naga groups and the civil societies and the church and the government will agree that whatever happens, there will be no more violence. Nagas cannot have violence anymore. No group should be allowed to have the option to commit violence, to coerce other people in any way. Our society is too fragile to stand that. So
right.
If they can say no more violence, I believe they may work out something.
Mr. Iralu, do you want at this juncture a meeting between the government of India, the political parties, civil societies, before actually people sign on the dotted lines, before the accord? Simple question to you.
Well, I do not know what to say about that. Well, but people coming to talk together is never a bad idea. So I think that should be tried. As long as people come and any group coming, call people together, talk is better.
Okay. Now I'm running short of time. Last words to you, Mr. Nikitu Iralu. Would you like the NSC and IM now to move ahead by taking all the NNPGs and the Naga civil society together as far as possible? Your final word.
To my mind, leave the Naga public out at the moment, but sit down with the other Naga political groups, factions, and among themselves work out a common position for a settlement that will be honorable and acceptable. Bring the public in after that. The public have heard too many things. So leave the public out. I may be misunderstood, but I'll say this. The public have heard too many things for so many years. But the faction leaders should sit down, probably with the help of the church and the tribal leaders probably, and say that we have to work out a common position that will be acceptable to all through real transparency, through showing mutual understanding to one another, and if they will talk like that, they will begin to
Right.
forgive one another, accept one another, and look for what will be best for their people.
Right.
Otherwise, the politics come in, and the crisis.
Absolutely, Mr. Nikituralo, you have very well said there. Mr. Ilu Andang, I am running short of time. Your final comments. What is it that you would like to say at this juncture? This is a very important times for the Naga people.
Yes. Two things. Firstly, I would like to once again urge upon the government of India to live up to its commitment with equality and mutual respect. And number two, I also appeal to the Naga people to be patient, to be optimistic, and to stand united.
Okay, this is a very important appeal. Rosemary, this is a very important appeal. Nagas need to stand united at this juncture. Your final comments, Dr. Rosemary, your final comments. Okay, your final comments from you, Mr. Sunil Nath. Elu Andang of the Naga Ho has said, time for Nagas must stay united. What do you have to say? What should be the role of the government of India right now? It should be more accommodative, not allow the talks to collapse under any circumstances?
Yes,
Sunil Nath?
definitely so. The government of India is the guardian of all Indians, and it should play the role of a guardian and try to satisfy the aspirations of remote areas and fringe areas. Only then will India become a strong nation and a strong country.
Okay. Final comments, Susanta Talukdar, 10 seconds, very quickly.
Yeah, I think the government of India should not hurry through the process. I mean, it should not rush through the process. Instead of fixing a time limit of 3 months, and it should try to bring all these groups together and work for a mutually agreeable and then common solution.
So, Arunav, one accord, but 8 Naga groups who are going to sign, if at all.
What I am saying, the
Easy or difficult?
It's difficult, but NSA and I have to sit with the 7 NNPGs, discuss the finer points of the framework agreement, come to a joint understanding, sign on the dotted lines, and then leave certain improbable developments out of the negotiation.
Okay. Dr. Rosemary, final comments. Okay, can't we not have Rosemary on the phone? Yes, well, you were saying that this is the time when all the Naga groups, they have to NSC, and you were saying, Arnav,
yeah, they have to discuss the finer points of the framework agreement with the other 7 NNPGs, reach to a mutual understandable solution, talk with the Indian government, finally sign on the dotted lines and leave out certain demands which are sure to be rejected by the Indian government at this juncture.
Okay, sure to be that all the ticklish issues, demands which cannot be met according to Arnav Goswami must be kept out of the table. We will still try to go to Dr. Rosemary Zuvisu one final time before. Okay, Rose, your final comments. Your final comments. What should we expect now?
Wasbir, the way forward is for the government of India. The way forward is for the government of India to seriously bring all these groups together, and also for the main groups and for all the different groups to sit down and talk in peace for the way forward, at least for the younger generation.
Well, I am reminded of Frost. The woods are lovely, dark and deep. We have promises to keep and miles to go before we sleep, and miles to go before we sleep. But yes, as Dr. Rosemary and Elunandang has said, we have to be optimistic at this stage. We at Northeast Life would also like this problem to be resolved to the satisfaction of all sides. And after all, it has been 7 decades that the Nagas have been struggling. Yes, the government of India looks absolutely serious under Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and a very, very able negotiator in the form of R.N. Ravi, and let's hope for the best in the coming days. Thanks all my panelists for engaging in this discussion tonight. Thank you and good night from all of us on Notice Tonight.